to the first but not last Veg Cities webinar. We have a good number of attendees, so let's just get started. My name is Sofia Parente. I'm the SFC Campaigns Coordinator, and welcome to this webinar. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available to everyone with the PowerPoints that you will see today. Unfortunately, only the presenters can speak, but you can use the chat tab on your left-hand side to ask any questions, to send suggestions, web links, resources, whatever you want. There will be a question and answers session at the end, and all answers will be circulated in writing after this webinar. So don't worry if there is no time to address your particular question, because we will circulate all answers in writing afterwards. And before we get on to the program, so to say, Alize is going to say a few words about the Sustainable Food Cities and how to get involved if you're not already a member of this network.
Thanks very much, Sophia. Hi, everyone. I'm going to keep this brief because, well, most of you listening in already know everything about Sustainable Food Cities, so it might be boring otherwise. Okay, Sustainable Food Cities is a network of over 50 cities, towns and boroughs now across the UK. It is coordinated by a partnership between Food Matters Soil Association, in which I'm based, and Sustain, in which Sophia is based, and we're funded by the Esme Fairbairn Foundation. So the idea behind Sustainable Food Cities is very simple. The idea was to develop a framework to help cities move towards local sustainable food systems. And so each city of the network that you saw on the map has set up a cross-sector food partnership, which comprises all the key stakeholders locally. And together they develop a joint vision of what their sustainable food city might look like in 5, 10, 15 years down the line. And then they develop an action plan to implement this vision. So the framework is also based on 6 key issues that you can see here on the screen. And the idea is that working across all of these issues in a systemic way will lead to will lead to more successfully achieving a local sustainable food system more efficiently anyway. So what is really, what I forgot to say is that there's lots of information on the SFC website if you want to have a look at and see what cities are currently doing on each of the 6 key issues, and lots of resources as well available. So this is just an example here on the screen. What is really exciting about the Veg Cities Campaign, which is the latest in a series of others that you can see here on the screen, is that it maps on very well to the 6 key issues. So the Veg Cities Campaign, as we'll see now, will help you achieve, will help you deliver actions which will help you to succeed on each of the 6 key issues, and that will enable you to progress towards an award, bronze, silver or gold, if your city is looking to work towards an award. So I'm going to let Katie, Sophia and Chloe tell you more about Veg Cities, but that was very briefly how Veg Cities fits into the SFC framework. And so there's going to be lots of information about how you can get involved in the next few minutes. Thanks very much, and back over to Katie, I believe.
Thanks, Alize.
Just putting up your presentation now.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Right, it's my role to tell you a little bit about the overarching Peas Please campaign. So I'm Katie Palmer. I head up Food Cardiff, but I'm also part of the Peas Please team. So Peas Please. So the idea of Peas Please is that it's bringing together everyone across the food system with a common goal of making it easier for everyone to eat veg. It's a collaboration between Food Foundation, Nourish Scotland, World Wildlife Fund and Food Cardiff. So the problem that we have, that I think everybody who's listening today will know, is that we're not eating enough veg. We should be eating 3.5 portions a day, and we know that 80% of kids are not eating enough, 95% of teenagers and 80% of adults. And we also know that people that are on lower incomes are eating even less veg. We also have research to show that 20,000 lives could be saved if we all ate one extra portion of veg. And we know that we only get half a portion of veg for every 3 meals that we eat out. And we also know that we're eating out a lot more than we used to. So in terms of our purchasing habits, we should be purchasing 20% of our baskets as vegetables. But in actual fact, we're only purchasing 1.2%. In fact, I've got the wrong slide up here. It should be for England, it would be 7 and UK be 7.2%. In Wales, we're very slightly less at 7.1%. So what are the opportunities? So if we ate the recommended amount of vegetables, we could reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And we all know that a diet high and diverse in veg protects us against some of the non-communicable diseases like heart disease, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes and certain forms of cancer. There's opportunities for horticulture. If we were all eating our 3.5 portions of veg a day, we would need to produce another 1.5 million metric tons of veg a year, which is a difficult figure to get your head around. So to date, we've been using this 5-a-day public health campaign. And we can see from these figures here that it's not working. So our vegetable consumption has actually gone down. And the approach has been very much about this public health message and trying to hit consumer demand. But in actual fact, what we need to be doing is looking at the whole of the food system, so that we're looking at every element, production, processing, wholesale, retail, consumer demand, and even looking at things like soil. So this is the approach that the Peas Please team have been taking to look at trying to work collectively across the whole of the food system. So I've mentioned the team is led by a core of UK partners, the Food Foundation, World Wildlife Fund, Nourish Scotland and Food Cardiff. Our aim is quite simple. It's to deliver food system change, making it easier for everyone to eat more vegetables. And we're doing this by working across the whole of the food system in an inclusive and collaborative way. So just to give you a quick sum up of the history, back in January 2016, the Food Foundation published Force Fed, which highlighted this issue around veg consumption. Then in October 2016, we had a vegetable retreat in Birmingham, which brought together individuals across the supply chain to look at the barriers to veg consumption. This led to the development of the Veg Facts publication, which kind of delved into a bit more of the deep detail about production, consumption, etc. Then during February to March, as a result of that publication and the retreat, we held 8 workshops on priority areas that we had identified, and we developed 8 policy briefings. One of those was around the urban veg piece and involved sustainable food cities at that point. And then in April to September, we used that information that we brought from that collaborative process during the workshops in the development of a commitments framework, which I will show you in a moment. And we also were working with potential pledges that would make commitments against that commitment framework. In October, we held 3 simultaneous vegetable summits in London, Edinburgh and Cardiff, which is probably not a feat we aim to try and do a second time. And then in March, we held a pledges conference, which was about bringing our pledges together to look at our common purpose and how we were going to kind of monitor and evaluate Peas Please and take best practice from each other. This is a list of the organisations involved in Peas Please and is by no means exhaustive. In fact, it does need updating, but it just gives you an idea of the depth and breadth of organisations that are involved. This is the commitments framework, but with a caveat that this is actually being reworked at the moment based on our experience and working with this framework and the pledges over the last sort of 6 to 8 months. So I'm not going to go into this in any detail at the moment, but just to say we will be slightly refreshing this. So the Vegetable Summit, there's a really nice sort of 5-minute, it might not be as much as 5 minutes, update on YouTube about the Vegetable Summit, and it gives you quite a nice feel for the whole of the Peas Please programme. But I mentioned that we held them in London, Cardiff and Edinburgh. And our current pledges, we have 40 pledges, or over 40 pledges now, I think, and they're very wide-ranging. So we have food service, we have retail, we have producers, we have catering. So you can see that there's a big range, and of course cities in the mix as well. Just to touch on the fact that we are monitoring the pledges, and we were going to be producing an annual report in October, and we're working with PwC and Cambridge to help us do that. We'll be using a mix of overarching metrics, self-reporting and spot checking. So I'm now going to talk to you about one of those elements very quickly, which is Veg Power. And this is really looking at that kind of consumer element of the Peas Please framework. Only 1.2% of advertising spend is on vegetables. So for every £1 spent on advertising fruit and veg, £17.50 is spent on advertising soft drinks, confectionery and snacks. Many of you, I hope, will see this is a familiar picture from the Veg Power. So this was looking at developing a marketing resource really that would help kind of promote the issue of the fact that we don't have this advertising spend on veg. It was a competition that we developed in line with the Vegetable Summits, and the winning poster was this Veg Power with the 2 carrots, which has sparked the imagination across the UK, and we've had graffiti in Cardiff and projections in Edinburgh, and lots of celebrities and MPs holding carrots up. And this is something that hopefully we'll see a bit more of over the next few days again. So the big idea is Veg Power, and it's developing a brand for vegetables, basically. And you'll see also that we have the Welsh translation there also, but the brand is Veg Power. It's we're looking at developing a vegetable marketing board that uses a wide range of marketing and advertising techniques to encourage people to consume more vegetables. We're looking at setting up, so we'll have a director and a volunteer chair and a board. At the moment, we're looking at developing, we're looking to secure 100,000, and news that's coming in today looks like we're getting close to that, which would provide seed funding and pro bono corporate grower and government support. And we're also launching a crowd fund tomorrow. And the idea of the Veg Power is that it isn't any one sector's responsibility, and we're trying to get retail, government, producers and consumers to take joint responsibility over this issue of the fact that we're just not promoting veg as we should be to our children. So the main goal is to deliver a proof of concept that this could work and build wide consortium support to identify long-term sustainable funding for Veg Power. So the Veg Power launches tomorrow. Please, although the crowdfund page is now up, so please don't tweet about it, but feel free to visit it and donate if you fancy. But tomorrow, please tweet and Instagram and Facebook and all of that stuff. We've got some opportunities for the cities around looking at developing a city page on a Veg Power book, which is going to accompany the crowdfund and will be available to people that pledge money for the crowdfund. They'll be able to get a copy of this book, which is going to include recipes and tips and activities from cities, from schools, from famous people. So it'll be a big mix. So we're really excited about how Veg Power can be plugged into the Veg Cities campaign, and I might talk about that a little bit more when I talk about the Cardiff work. So that's me on the national picture.
So time to talk about Veg Cities. So you've heard about the national picture and how in the framework of the pledges, you've seen towns and cities in there. So what is it that we can do at the local level to increase availability and consumption of veg? This is where Veg Cities comes in. So Veg Cities is a feature campaign of sustainable food cities. It's led by food and farming charity Sustain in partnership with the wider Peas Please initiative. So the aim is to increase availability and consumption of veg, and food partnerships, local authorities are ideally placed to work with different local businesses, organizations, from convenience stores to schools, local markets, to increase veg. So you heard how Food Cardiff has been kind of the Welsh arm of the Peas Please initiative. And as it worked with the founding partners of Peas Please, it fell to Food Cardiff and Sustainable Food Cities to research the options around the role of urban food systems in driving up vegetable consumption. So in that process, it became apparent very quickly that vegetables were the perfect conduit for working through each of the 6 key issues of sustainable food cities. So that concept started to garner interest among other members of the SFC network. And it was then we decided it should become a feature campaign for the network. In all this, Eat More Veg is a very positive, energizing message. It's about growing more of something, eating more of something, rather than calling for an end to something. So it's a very appealing campaign concept that I hope many members of the network get behind. And that's also why you will see ahead that we're promoting actions along 6 key areas that match the 6 key issues of the sustainable food cities. So we hope SFC members come on board. We believe the campaign can offer an umbrella under which cities can be able to amplify and build upon much of the work they're already doing, be it food growing, cooking classes in the community, transforming catering and procurement, but putting a veg twist on it, and very importantly, shouting about the issue. So there's a fair amount of interest already from local areas around the Veg Cities concept from within the SFC network and other cities. So Cardiff, Brighton and Hove, you will hear from both later on, but also from cities like Birmingham, Aberdeen, the London Borough of Redbridge. They all pledged actions and started running Veg Cities campaigns. But we hope other cities and areas to join as well. So what does it mean being a feature campaign of sustainable food cities? What kind of support we'll be able to offer? So we'll have grants available to SFC members deadline is the 4th of June. We will have a Veg Cities handbook with best practice and examples. This will be available next week. We're also preparing a website to go live in June, where cities can go and register, tell us what action they're taking. And this website will also provide access to resources such as campaign logo, case studies, design materials, and others. And we plan to announce Veg Cities at the SFC annual conference in June, and this will mark the official start of the campaign. With the wider Peas Please initiative, cities will also have the opportunity to showcase progress in the annual Veg Summit. So last year there were 3 simultaneous Veg Summits in October. There will be one, probably not the 3 of them, but there will be one this year in autumn where Veg Cities could showcase what they've been doing. And throughout the year, we're planning to organize webinars around each of the key areas of action to hear about best practice examples from around the network. Another thing is that Peas Please organizes pledges, conferences, and this may offer another opportunity to bring cities together to hear from national stakeholders such as caterers and manufacturers, but also to share what's been going on in the cities. So let's get to the detail now. Who can get involved in Veg Cities? So we call those running local campaigns across the UK the partners. And we envisage that in most Veg Cities campaigns, the campaigns will be run by the local authority or the local food partnerships. But we will consider working with other local groups as long as they can demonstrate that they're working together with others locally. But the campaign really encourages the local organizations, the so-called participants, which you can see on your screen, to take actions. So these will be organizations from 7 different sectors, from councils to retail and markets. And the sort of actions we're asking them to take really depends on what sector they're in, but they can range from increasing the portions of veg in every meal in restaurants and catering, to organizing veg challenges and competitions in schools, events in the community, and so on. And we are starting to build a good set of resources available to support cities interested in taking action to increase veg consumption, ranging from case studies to good practice guides. So what are the 6 areas of action? So no surprise, they are closely linked with the 6 key areas of action for the SFC. So the aim of Veg Cities is to increase availability and consumption of veg. So food partnerships and local authorities can achieve this by working with all of those different businesses and organizations in these 6 key areas. Now, we don't expect Veg Cities to work on all of these 6 areas, but major on 1 or 2 and a handful of actions for the biggest impact locally. So let's get into a little bit of detail into each one of them. So the first one is promoting veg. And now, under each one of these big areas of work, there's a menu of actions. This is not the final menu of actions. This will be refined over time. But each action will have a metric associated so that we know the impact at the end of the project. And in terms of promoting veg, most of the actions will have a number of people associated with it. So this is all about shouting about veg. So this is the external campaigning side of things. And this is because we're not hearing enough about how good it is to eat veg. And you've seen how little of the advertising spend goes on veg from Katie's presentation before. the truth is that junk food companies spend 27 times more on advertising than the government does on promoting healthy eating. So no wonder we're sometimes doing the wrong choices. And that's why Veg Cities would like every city to join in to promote veg through marketing work, public-facing campaigns, challenges, competitions. So a menu of actions is suggested and will be refined over time, but it will give you an idea of the sort of commitments we're inviting participants to make. So use marketing work, social media, healthy eating campaigns or events to promote veg. And here is where Veg Cities plugs into the Veg Power Fund that you heard before. So we hope Veg Cities will join in and tap into the resources produced by the Veg Ed Fund in their local campaigns. Probably resources will be available from the autumn. But in the meanwhile, you've seen the cartoon boy playing with his carrots, holding them up to his head to look like Batman. So the image the advertising agency created was simple, but it did offer the chance to tap into another great marketing ploy, which is participation. So that poster was displayed in over 5,000 locations to coincide with the Vegetable Summit in October. So our challenge next time around is to get those numbers up next time we do a push with all the Veg Cities. But other sorts of actions that cities can take is, for example, to give preferential treatment to healthy food ads, offer free advertising space, restrict junk food ads, other things, promote adverts or recipe competitions in organizations or businesses, do assemblies, sessions or interventions to promote veg in schools, workplaces or community groups, promote challenges like try 5 a day, 2 veg with every meal or a different veg every day for a week. So that gives you a flavor for the sort of action we're looking under this area. The second area is improve access to veg, particularly to those who most need it. And here, a big one that we hope cities will get on board is to increase the uptake of Healthy Start vouchers, Rose vouchers, or through other local initiatives. Now, some of the Veg Cities pilots are undertaking work in this area. Members of the network have been working in this area, so we'll be able to share best practice. In Birmingham, for example, just to give you one city, the team there estimated that unclaimed vouchers are worth between 1.4 and 1.6 million pounds. So this money could be spent in the local economy and feeding those who most need, and instead it's just being unclaimed. So spurred by those figures, the team there put an all-action plan in place to try and increase the number of people registered into the scheme, but also the number of retailers accepting the vouchers. So the second action under this area is to improve access to veg for children enrolled in after-school or holiday activities. We know that for 170 days a year, children entitled to free school meals cannot access their free school meal provision, and a large number of community organizations are responding to this challenge, offering holiday provision for children. And this offers a huge opportunity to connect children to how food is grown, trying new vegetables, developing cooking skills, and supporting healthy eating practices. Increase the lines, quality, and display of veg in retail, particularly in deprived areas, is a huge one as well. It's a real challenge, as we know that often areas of higher deprivation coincide with areas of higher concentration of hot food takeaways and very little retail offer in terms of veg. But fortunately, we have examples of good practice where local authorities are addressing this. And I could go on to say a few examples, but all of this will be in the handbook that will be available next week. So you can see a few good case studies there. And the last thing here is set up a veg stand, a veg corner, or a food co-op in your workplace. And the photo on the screen is the grapevine stall at the University Hospital Wales in Cardiff. But you don't have to go to such an accomplished example. It can start with a small project in your workplace. And the third area is growing, cooking, and eating. And we know that getting people involved in growing and cooking vegetables, the seed to plate experience, will grow people's love and desire to try a wide range of vegetables. This is an area where many food partnerships and community groups are already working on. They're, for example, developing cooking skills in the community, but cooking vegetables so that they make delicious meals can still be quite a challenge, even for the most experienced cooks. So this is where we hope that organizations come with a veg twist and do their interventions with that twist. So if you're focusing on supporting more food growing in your city, we hope that a citywide campaign like Veg Cities can galvanize activity and embed growing into local strategies, help you expand the number of growing spaces, set up or expand a network of growing spaces, and ultimately increase the amount of locally grown veg and traded veg so we get more into people's diets. Urban agriculture has a huge potential to help feed the world. Some studies come up with a figure of up to 10% of vegetables could come from urban agriculture. So we could be producing a lot more veg in cities. Perishable high-value crops such as salad leaves could go straight into local restaurants and cafes, generating jobs and value locally. So this is an area where Sustain may help you in terms of supporting your city by hosting a ready mail mapping tool with information on your gardens locally. So this tool, we have this available for London already, but we're interested in expanding this. This tool maps sites and creates a ready-made database. And it also shows those looking for volunteers and gives access to our harvestometer. As the name says, this is an online tool to track how much food you grow and how much money it's worth. So get in touch if you're interested in expanding this work. Okay, the fourth, and I really need to start moving on because we're running out of time, is to support to local businesses. An area of action specifically aimed at local councils. And this is because councils can encourage a thriving, healthy food system from food growing through to food retail using their powers as landowner, local planning authority or licensing authority to support local business. They can show leadership through non-statutory roles such as economic regeneration, business support, and town centre management. And I listed 3 actions here, again, not exhaustive, but the first is about building the evidence to act, is mapping assets against transportation routes, income and health data, proximity to schools and other factors. The second is, sounds very basic, but it's not always the case that access to food is included in the local plan, supplementary planning documents or other planning policy. And partnerships can play a role here and make the case for including access to food in local plans. And the last one, but probably the biggest one, has to do with implementing the above, is to support food businesses through access to land, business rate relief, or other financial incentives. And again, we have many examples here of how unutilized council spaces were brought to life and transformed into productive spaces for growing food. And in Sustain, we also are able to offer some support and guidance to partnerships who want to get involved in local planning. So do get in touch if you're planning to do more in this area. The fifth, but a big one, and where we hope we have many cities involved, is transforming catering and procurement. And this is because local authorities contract out multiple services, which include food provision. The UK public sector spends around 2.5 billion a year on food and catering services. And Peace Please are asking public procurement bodies to sign the 2 by 2020 Veg Pledge, which commits signatories to support the principle that all main courses should include 2 portions of vegetables as standard within the price in all public settings. So local authorities and food partnerships can ask their local contractors to support this pledge. And you'll hear later on how Cardiff and Brighton, how they are doing, working with local caterers to achieve this in a hospital and in schools. And the final area is to reduce waste. And you probably know a lot more than I do about this, but it's overwhelming that the amount of food that we're wasting, and that when we throw food in the bin, we're throwing away all the energy, labor, water, natural resources that went into making that food in the first place. So globally, around 1/3 of all food produced is never eaten and is thrown away on the farm, by companies, by supermarkets, at home. And the cost to farmers and the food industry and to consumers is enormous. And we know that a lot of the food that is wasted are vegetables. So many food partnerships and other local organizations are developing work in this area, either by bringing people together in events to raise awareness of food waste or actively getting involved in redistribution networks. So we believe Veg Cities can provide a really good framework and amplify the work you're already doing. Fresh vegetables and salads are a big contributor to avoidable food waste at the home and out-of-home sectors. So campaigns which focus on reducing food waste could focus specifically on vegetables and promote strategies to cut back vegetable waste and in turn promote greater consumption. And you'll have the chance to hear from Chloe later on what they've been doing in schools to cut on veg waste to ensure more veg are actually eaten in schools. And this is my last slide. So how can you get involved? I hope this has managed to whet your appetite to get involved. So the first step to get involved is to register your interest in running a campaign. For now, just get in touch with me by email. The PowerPoint you will receive will have my email because I did some changes this morning. Because the Veg Cities website won't be live until June. But from June, you can go straight onto the Veg Cities website and register. So by registering your interest, you'll have access to advice, resources to help you on the road to make your local area a veg city. Then the second step, and well, this is actually the first step because it's the most important one. But if you haven't already done so, it's crucial to form a partnership group in your local area, including your local authority, food businesses, public sector organizations, NGOs, such as those working on waste reduction, food growing networks, and others. So get this group together to take stock of existing initiatives and start defining your priorities. And then we encourage you to write an action plan to set out your aims and targets for at least the first year as a way to help with comms, engagement, focus, and ultimately be able to look back and at what you achieved. The third step is make a public announcement and celebrate. Some areas have kicked off their campaigns with an announcement as a way to engage the public and get more organizations on board. And step 4 says keep going, but it's really about, we don't expect you to work on all of the 6 key areas, but major on 1 and 2. And don't forget to celebrate every action as a step towards success. You will be able to register actions on the website or invite your participants to register. And remember, share ideas, experience with other Veg Cities. Join the Sustainable Food Cities email discussion group. Again, these details will be on the PowerPoint you'll receive afterwards. But also follow the Twitter accounts for Veg Cities, Veg Power, and Food Cities. So this is the end of my presentation. We're going to hear from cities about how they've been getting on with Veg Cities. So Katie, Veg City Cardiff.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to be really quick and zip through this because I'm conscious that we're a bit delayed on time. But a lot of what I'm going to tell you today will be linked into the resources that come through from Sophia and team anyway. So I think some of the case studies that I will just touch on today will be in the handbook. So I think this is a really fantastic opportunity to capitalise on the national food system work that's happening with Peas Please and the Veg Power work. It's an opportunity to link the sustainable food cities at a local level as an expression of a national action. And at a very local level, it's really a great opportunity to galvanise activity around a common cause. It's much easier to start a conversation with, can we get more veg in there, than it is to go and sit down and say, can we create a whole new set of food standards, please? So this is the angle that we've taken it from. So this is Mel from Pennyland Pantry eating some salad from Cardiff Salad Garden, and two of our very local businesses that are involved in the Veg City campaign. So Food Cardiff made a pledge at the Sustainable Food Cities Conference to become one of the first UK Veg Cities and to support the Sustainable Food Cities in rolling that campaign out. Cardiff Council made a pledge in their own right, and I won't go through it now, but you can see it's about supporting the Food and Fun school holiday enrichment programme, and also about supporting council catering to put 2 portions of veg into main meals, and to promote the Veg Power campaign as well. This is a photograph from our Veg Summit, and these are the logos, sorry, it's a very good resolution, from that have pledged as part of the October Summit, and some of our first organisations that are on board with the Veg Cities campaign. So we talked about access and procurement. We have pictured there of the grapevine, which was a small pilot that started off with just fruit to look at the Cardiff and Brighton Hove hospital site. It was very, very successful. They added vegetables and a permanent site, and due to the success, there's now another site on one of the other hospitals that's starting off small with just fruit as a pilot. We've done a lot of work with the Cardiff and Brighton Hove Health Board on raising standards. So 75% of the non-patient food now that's on offer in the hospitals in Cardiff are of the healthier alternative. And as part of that, the Health Board has pledged to get 2 portions of veg into main meals, and some of the food that you can see there represents that. Sophia also touched on the reducing food waste. One of the case studies that will appear is around the Wasteless Suppers, which is a collaboration between Leah's Kitchen and Green City Events, bringing together stakeholders across the city. And this process involved 18 food businesses over 4 events, including 216 kilograms of food, 155 guests, and they'll also be contributing veg tips to the Veg Power book as well, which will be coming out as part of the crowd fund. Another example of activity that's happening in the city is around Cardiff Salad Garden. This is a really interesting one because it brings together lots of elements in one of the Sustainable Food Cities framework. The Salad Garden is a kick. It's growing high quality mixed salad leaves in the centre of our flagship park in Cardiff, Butte Park. It's working with disadvantaged members of the community, especially asylum seekers and refugees. It's acquired land from the council and situated within the nurseries area of the park. It's delivering to local businesses by bike, so sustainably as well, and has massive potential to expand in the city. And this is just one example of where I went to visit the salad garden. They didn't have a social media account. They were looking for more customers. I just give them a little bit of a nudge to get a Twitter account up and running, and overnight they had new customers. So that's just one simple example. Growing and community engagement. So we have a supplementary planning advice in Cardiff that was launched in November, and this is to support the local development plan in the city. It includes access to food growing spaces, provision of retail units selling fruit and veg, and restriction of hot food takeaways. We've got lots of different growing initiatives. I've just put a couple in here. Canton Grows Wild, which is about making the most of urban spaces to grow pollinators. And we have the Grow Well project, which is a collaboration with Grow Cardiff, which is about social prescribing in one of the GP cluster areas of the city. We've also got Edible Cardiff, which is bringing together lots of these campaigns within the city. Sorry if I'm talking too fast. I know we're short on time. And finally then, talking about the schools and education piece. So we've got the School Holiday Enrichment Programme, which is a holiday provision through schools in Cardiff. And we have a commitment from the council to continue expanding and rolling that out. As part of that programme, we have Nutrition Skills for Life element, which is around training up staff within the schools to deliver the right health, nutrition and messages to children. And they deliver a six module course to the children, and these are some statistics here about the fact that kids are drinking less sugary drinks, and 79% reported eating more fruit and vegetables during the holidays as a result of food and fun. We're also developing resources with our Healthy Schools team that will go into the schools during term time, and we will be working very closely with children to work with the Veg Power theme with the advertising. So we'll be using that Veg Power logo and getting kids involved in all sorts of different activities around that. So that was a very, very quick whistle-stop tour of what we're doing in Cardiff. There's loads more stuff going on, but I'm conscious of time. So I'm going to hand over to Chloe in Brighton.
Hi, sorry. Hello, everyone. So I am going to talk about the experience from Brighton Hove around becoming a veg city. I still feel like it's something we've only just really started, so hopefully there's enough for people to get involved in. But so for those that don't know, the Food Partnership, we're a non-profit organisation helping people learn to cook, to eat a healthy diet, to grow their own food and to waste less food. And probably at the start of last year, we were approached by the Food Foundation to attend one of their workshops and also to feed into the commitments framework that they were developing. We were really excited by the project and very impressed by the Food Foundation and the way that they worked. So we said a big yes, please, to being involved in the Peas Please campaign, and started to meet with our local partners, so like the City Council, Public Health, Children's Centres, University Schools. The City Council were really excited to be on board with this, thinking that it was a particularly positive campaign to be involved in. So we managed to get the agreement from two of the directors and the leader of the council so that Brighton Hove would work towards becoming a veg city. And we wanted to look at existing projects to add veg into rather than kind of starting to invent lots of projects that we needed to work on. So in October 2017, the Food Partnership and the Council made a joint pledge, and that was all within the commitments framework. It's number 6 around towns and cities committing to becoming urban veg pioneers. So in terms of our pledge that we made, there were a number of different areas, and the first one was to embed Peas Please into our new citywide food strategy, which is going to be launched in November. We're also pledging to produce some guidance for planners and developers to do with food growing and having access to healthy food. We've been working with caterers to get them to sign up to the 2 by 2020 pledge to serve 2 portions of veg with each main meal. We're creating veg-themed training for chefs and caterers. We're going to run another campaign around the increase of uptake of Healthy Start vouchers, providing free fruit and veg for people on low incomes and various benefits. And we're also looking at running cookery classes because we're just about to open our new community kitchen. So we're going to do lots of veg-centred meals there. We're looking at supporting local growers through PR and various events, and we're also going to integrate the Peas Please actions into any current policy. So things like we've got our minimum buying standards for catering contracts at the council. We're going to try and include a target for increasing veg consumption within that, and also within our award schemes, like the Healthy Choice Award, for nurseries and care homes and breakfast clubs and restaurants and cafes. So they're all things that we've started to work on, but I just wanted to quickly highlight a couple of the things that we're doing. So this year we've really been working hard on consulting on our new citywide food strategy. So instead of, we probably would, if we hadn't been doing that, we probably would have got everyone together and had one big Peas Please meeting. But instead, we took the Peas Please questions to the different roundtables that we were having for the themed citywide food strategy roundtables and workshops. So we asked them, how can you contribute to get everyone eating an extra portion of veg per day? And what are the barriers do you think that need overcoming for people to eat more veg? And the answers to that and the commitments that people made will be weaved through the food strategy, which is going to be launched in November. As part of the consultation, we also ran a few online surveys with around 400 responses. And there was one to the public and there was one to food businesses, so restaurants, cafes, caterers, retailers. And in terms of the public survey responses, we've got lots of different things, but I just thought I'd pull out the main one about what might help you eat an extra portion of veg or eat more healthily. And the highest thing there was around cheaper veg being available in supermarkets. So in fact, a lot of the responses were all to do with supermarkets, which probably shows that most people shop in supermarkets perhaps, but the fact that they need cheaper veg feels like we still need to work on showing what the true value of our food actually is. But so some of the comments that came back in terms of the public survey, there was a lot around they didn't want plastic with their veg. The seasonal local veg, they needed lots more recipe ideas, lots more interesting veg options. Particularly, lots of people came back about shop bought sandwiches. They didn't want to just see cheese or egg or hummus as the standard veg options. I'm just going to really whiz through this because I haven't got much time. Then we also had some responses from caterers about what they were going to do as their pledges. So they're in terms of adding, a lot of them were talking about adding veg in all of the recipes, and a couple of the secondary schools have already done that. They've literally gone through every single one of their recipes and added veg to them, which is fabulous. They're also looking at different cooking methods and offering snack pots with veg in rather than just the fruit snack pots, which they currently do. In terms of the food retailers, one of them is already promoting veg via their social media channels. And one of the kind of major retailers locally, they said maybe they're going to copy Tesco and give out free fruit to kids. What else is there? So in terms of our work with caterers, all of these organisations are in our good food procurement group. So we've been working with them to work out what pledges that they can take. So we've done the online survey. We've recently held we ran a Making Veg the Star of the Plate workshop, where we invited inspirational chef speakers to inspire some ideas, and then all of the chefs and caterers that came along, they shared ideas about different recipes and what works well for them. Then we have also got them to sign up to the 2 by 2020 pledge. So 45% are already doing it, and 45% of the caterers we asked are going to do it. So that's great. And we've started to put into the pipeline some inspiring veg cookery courses. One of the caterers that we're working with is the Brighton Hove City primary school meal service. I literally, we're running out of time, so I'll just whip through it. But we ran a food waste audit last year to understand how much was being wasted, what was wasted, and why. And just the most wasted foods, I'm not sure if you can guess, but they were vegetables, which is a great shame. And I saw the amount that was wasted, but they're trying to put in lots of different interventions to make sure that we can lower the amount of veg that's wasted. There was lots of different reasons why the veg was wasted. My personal favourite was that I only like carrot sticks, not rounds. They had some favourite vegetables, carrots being number one. So there were some good points. But the recommendations that came from the food waste audit, we ran 2 3-week food waste audits in 2 schools, were to commit to trialling raw veg, promoting an Eat a Rainbow message, training to reinvigorate the salad bar. But the main thing, which actually all of these recommendations have gone into the primary school meal service Peas Please pledge, was that to really focus on the commitment to increase consumption and not just to increase the number of portions, because they already serve the 2 by 2 portions that are required. So, but they're being wasted. So that is the real commitment this year that we're going to try and work on. And finally, there's a really great piece of research happening with Lidl. We're one of 2 pilot areas, Brighton and Birmingham. There's going to be a qualitative piece of research going on with 2 focus groups and some stakeholder interviews. They're basically going to look at the how and why people in the Lidl catchment, so it's a certain area within Brighton, currently choose, store, cook, serve, eat and waste veg. And that is fresh and frozen. And then they'll come out with the various insights and interventions needed there. But ultimately, this is with the council and the University of Brighton and Lidl trying to find out what are the barriers to buying veg in East Brighton. So really, really interesting piece of research. So there's lots going on, but we feel like there's still lots more to do. But that's it for me.
Thank you, Chloe.
Raced through.
And right on time. It's nearly 3:00. We didn't. I think we managed to address the questions that have been coming in writing. But if you have any other questions after the presentations you heard today, please send them directly to me at sophia@sustainweb.org, and we will address them. So thank you very much for participating in this webinar. A big thank you to Alize for setting up this webinar, and to our presenters, Katie Palmer and Chloe Clark, for telling us more about Peas Please and Veg Power, but also about what they've been doing in their cities. So thank you very much, everyone. And don't hesitate getting in touch to register your interest or to clarify any questions you might have. Have a good day. Bye.